Essay podcast. I'm your host, Will DeGravio, and if past episodes of this show could be considered a feature film, consider this my version of a short film, a featurette, as it were, dedicated to a single project that is near and dear to my heart, and I think is one of the most exciting and enriching videographic projects of recent years, and that is the TV Dictionary project, created and curated by my good friend Ariel Avissar. I asked Ariel to have a conversation and join the show, A, because I think this project is just fantastic, but B, I think it really shows what I find so compelling and fun and enjoyable about videographic criticism, and that is the supportive and encouraging online community of practice that is interested not only in creating this kind of work, but encouraging other folks to create it too. What you can expect in this conversation is Ariel talking about how he came up with the idea for TV Dictionary, how others have responded to creating videos, and also what you can expect if you want to dip your feet into videographic criticism as well, or if you're a seasoned video essayist and just want to be part of a fun online collaborative project, you too can still get involved with TV Dictionary. One thing to keep in mind is that there are a host of links that are affiliated with TV Dictionary, all of which I will link to at thevideoessay.com. This includes the Vimeo showcase that Ariel has curated of the nearly 50 works that have been created as part of the project, and also an ongoing series of blog posts published by Critical Studies in Television. These blog posts feature participants in the TV Dictionary project reflecting on the process of creating. Another exciting note is that the TV Dictionary will be featured as a roundtable at the upcoming Critical Studies in Television conference, which is a slow online conference that is being held across multiple days and weeks. This roundtable features an all-star lineup, I would say, of video essayists and creators, and I will absolutely link to that at thevideoessay.com as well. Be sure to check it out on June 29th at 3:15 p.m. British Summer Time. As always, you can follow the show on Twitter at The Video Essay. You can subscribe to the newsletter, thevideoessay.substack.com. You can support the show on Patreon. And please do send me video essay news and notes to share on Twitter and via the newsletter. That's absolutely the favorite thing that I do. So please don't hesitate to ever get in contact with me. My email is also available at thevideoessay.com. And so without further ado, here's my conversation about TV Dictionary with Ariel Avissar. Now I am very pleased to welcome back to the Video Essay Podcast for, I think, the third time. I think Ariel has the most appearances as a guest without having been interviewed in the traditional Video Essay Podcast format, and that's because you do so many things in the video essay world that we highlight, and then we always say we'll do the full interview down the road, and then it never happens. So we're getting you here in bits and pieces, but Ariel, it's so great to have you back on the Video Essay Podcast. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks.
And so the subject of our conversation today is, to backtrack, I reached out to Ariel super last minute just because I wanted to get an episode out this month, and also because I feel when I think about the online community of practice and videographic criticism, I feel that this project encapsulates so much of what I love about this community, why I started this podcast. And so I felt that it was absolutely something that, a Video Essay Podcast episode should be dedicated to. And that is the TV Dictionary project, which was featured in the 2021 Best Video Essays of the Year by Sight and Sound magazine, and is currently the subject of an ongoing blog series for the Critical Studies in Television Journal's blog, and is just one of the funnest things going. I made a video, and I think you're up to around 50 at this point. entries.
48.
Yeah. And it is just a fantastic, exciting project. So my first question to you is, how did you come up with this idea and what was the inspiration for it?
I do some translating work on the side, translating from Hebrew to English. And I was just catching up a bit late. That was it was last summer. I was catching up on the fourth season of Fargo that week. And then when I was sitting and working on this book I'm translating, I look up, in the thesaurus to try to find a better way to phrase stuff, and somehow ended up on the word precarious, which was just uttered by one of the characters in an episode of Fargo that week that I just seen the day before. And I don't know, something clicked. Yeah. Was just thinking, and then I went to look at the various dictionary definitions of the word precarious, and I thought, that's pretty much Fargo, isn't it? This could be something. So then I thought I'd go simple because I have a lot of other projects going on. So I just looked at the first sequence of the pilot episode of Fargo and made a little epigraph. And it's the first video in the collection. And I think it's probably one of the least interesting ones because it's very basic. It's kind of like a proof of concept. There's nothing surprising or particularly creative about it, but made me start looking up other words and trying to match them up with series. And I thought this could be an interesting format to play around with. As a scholar, I'm mostly interested in television studies, and that's a field that's lagging way behind film in videographic criticism in particular. We can talk about that later. So I thought this could be a good opportunity to try to develop some videographic TV related work. And I made a couple more videos. And then I thought, let's invite other people to join, see if it clicks with anyone else. And it did. It was a very productive summer. There was a period of about a month where new entries would arrive like once a day, at least, sometimes a few more. I would go out for a couple of times. I went out on a camping trip for a couple of days and came back home to find 10 new entries waiting for me, which was in the inbox, which was great. As you said, we're up to almost 50 now, and they're still coming, dripping in once in a while. The premise is very simple. You need to pick a television series, any television series, and try to find a word that captures, kind of distills something of the essence of the show, and make a video. It doesn't have to be an epigraph, though up until now they're all epigraphs. Theoretically, they don't have to be. But the premise is you take one or several clips from the series and the dictionary definitions of the word and try to do something with put them into dialogue as a short video.
I was wondering if you had any inspirations for how you thought about framing this project and encouraging folks to join. Like, I think they remind me very much of the Middlebury videographic exercises developed by Katie Grant, Jason Mattel, and Christian Keithley. Like, I could imagine this dictionary project becoming an exercise. And I know that you, in conversations that we've had, are always playing around with kind of various experimental exercises that you assign to your students. Like, you've done conspiracy theory videos and tried to incorporate the desktop documentary format into these kind of short projects that can allow, what's one of the things that I like about this project is that I would assume there are some folks, or I know for a fact there are some folks who this is how they dipped their feet into videographic criticism. But then you have very experienced video essayists who are also playing around in this format. So how did you think through, were those inspirations for you? And how did you think about making sure that your prompt could kind of play to as wide an audience as possible?
Going back to the Middlebury prompts, this is obviously a subcategory of an epigraph. I suppose you could call it that. Even though, again, the prompt doesn't specify that it should be, but somehow being a dictionary, language-based, text-based prompt, I guess it kind of leans that way. But there isn't any... I love the Middlebury prompts. They're very useful. I use them all the time. Everybody uses them. There isn't a specifically television oriented themed prompt out there yet that's popular. And theoretically, this prompt could also be applied to film. You could try to capture the essence of a specific film in a word, but there's something, I'm not sure why, but it doesn't seem to resonate as much. And I know that I've tried it, but it just doesn't seem as interesting. Whereas taking a television series, which is it could be a sprawling, immense hours and years and decades worth of material, of footage, which is something very daunting to go into, and try to whittle it down to one word. There's something very appealing about that, I think. Or maybe challenging. Maybe it even sounds like more of a challenge. And I think part of the reason why this resonated with people is that while it is daunting to start thinking, where am I even going to start working videographically on hours and hours of footage that my editing platform might not even be able to carry, but starting small with one clip and one word and working your way from there maybe is a good kind of entryway into this. I imagine that this might be part of the appeal.
And there's something about the nature of definitions, right? That there can be 3, 4, 5, 8 that come in a way almost mirror like the episodic nature of TV, right? Like the parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is something that I appreciated. And then anecdotally speaking, and I think we can just get into this now, I've found in talking with folks that the task of making video essays about television is just more daunting. I think because you might be dealing with 50 episodes, you know, dozens of hours of footage, and then also the technical labor of working through all of that material, ripping multiple DVDs or Blu-rays, or having to go through tedious screen capture technology to get things from Netflix or Hulu or what have you, right? There's all these things, and I'd be curious, to hear just your thoughts generally on why, as you say, that television studies is kind of underrepresented in the videographic criticism space.
That's a good question. Well, the first thing you should probably say is that if we're looking at a very generalized kind of division of the, popular YouTube video essays and more Vimeo-based scholarly academic videographic criticism sphere, there are a lot of video essays about television series over on YouTube. You can find probably 5 million YouTube video essays about Game of Thrones alone. There's no shortage of that over there. Everything from The Simpsons to Breaking Bad there's a lot of it. In the academic sphere, not so much. I think if you take Jason Mattel out of the equation, there is very precious few. There's more and more, I think, as the field evolves. But this is an interesting disparity on its own, I think. Perhaps part of it is that YouTubers, or at least the more successful ones, make money doing their video essays. And this might be, as you said, it's a lot more labor intensive. So this might have something to do with it. Whereas if you're an academic doing these things on the side, you can't really afford to find and work with so much footage. Part of it might be also to do with, there's, again, in the academic side of videographic criticism, there's a tendency towards a very, in some places at least, to a very certain kind of cinephilia. You go to these classical Hollywood texts and avant-garde and experimental, and on, again, a very generalized sort of spectrum where you have art and television. So maybe that's another reason. I know, at least here in Israel and perhaps in other places too, television is lagging behind, TV studies is lagging behind film, not only in videographic criticism, more so in videographic criticism, but in regular academia. In my own institution, it used to be only in the past decade or so, I think it's become a substantial field. It was lagging way behind. So it's not surprising in that sense as well, I think.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think I remember, even in just talking about your own videographic work, I remember being surprised, or maybe surprised isn't the right word, that your primary interest was television studies, because I felt that the video essays, I think my first video essay that I'd seen of yours was Mashup of the Afternoon, which, as you know, is one of my all-time favorites. Ariel mashes up Psycho and Meshes of the Afternoon. And then your recent essay, What is Neo-Snyderism? Another one of my all-time favorites. So I associate you with like cinema in my mind. And so watching this project just as a fan of your work, it seemed like a really good like coming home for you in a sense. I know that that you had done TV stuff before, but did you, it felt, I felt this personal connection to it with you. I don't know if you have anything to say to that, but I felt it in watching. Maybe that's just because I know you. I don't know. But on that point, who are you finding is contributing to TV Dictionary? Is it primarily scholars? Is it primarily students? Is it a mix of folks? Like, can you just give us a sense of kind of who comprises this ongoing collection?
Well, yeah, it's primarily scholars, which makes sense because, I started sharing on my Facebook page. So originally it was mostly my Facebook friends. But then as it got spread around, I would get videos from people I've never met before. And I think all of them probably, if not all of them, most are academic scholars. Not a lot of students, though I am hoping to get more into that. I know that at least a few people have told me that they use the prompt in their classes with their students. So we might get more student work in the future.
In clicking through the videos, and I've seen a good amount, mostly I would watch them when they came out. And I think one of the things that I appreciate about it is there's just such a wide range of shows. So could you give us just kind of a sense of what, if we start clicking through the TV Dictionary, kind of the types of videos that we may be finding either in terms of like their formal videographic approach or in the types of shows that were chosen?
Well, there is some diversity in the subject matter, though there are very evident trends. I mean, most of the shows are English speaking, mostly American television, some British television, and just a few that aren't. But it's very English oriented. There are mostly dramatic shows, a lot of quote unquote quality prestige TV, and primarily of this century and maybe the 90s. But there are exceptions. There are shows from the 50s, and there are some sitcoms and some animation.
American Bandstand, I think.
Yeah. One of the recent ones. Yes, one of the outliers. And there's also one reality show. Well, I guess maybe American Bandstand is also kind of a reality show. Yeah. So there are exceptions to this, but it's mostly scripted television so far. Mm-hmm. And myself, I mean, if I look just at my own entries, they're mostly very recent prestige drama series, most of them, and a couple of sitcoms.
And I contributed an entry to the TV Dictionary very early, and I did a very basic entry where I essentially just took the definition and put it over the HBO miniseries John Adams, which was when I was the TA for the Middlebury Scholarship and Sound and Image Workshop, I did the exercises with the participants and used John Adams. So it felt like a good continuation for me. And I found, I remember doing the TV Dictionary when I was like really overwhelmed with a ton of just other outside work or whatever, and found it to just be such like a liberating thing to do, where I was like, oh, this is not, I don't need to do anything too crazy, but I can still make something interesting. And I took the scene where they're voting to ratify the Declaration of Independence and compared it with the word myth. And as I prefaced earlier, to me, that is what's so great about the community of practice that exists online for video essaying. Is every once in a while there pops up an opportunity that kind of gives you a chance to get the creative juices flowing, but that isn't gonna, you don't necessarily need to sit in front of the computer for hours in labor in front of it. And so I'm just curious, what has been the kind of more personal response that maybe you could share anecdotally to folks who have participated? Like, what has that felt like for them?
Good question. I've gotten a lot of very positive response. I should also say that following up on who are the kinds of people who made these, there are a few people who are very established videographic critics and TV scholars like Jason Mattel and Katie Grant, and big names. And there are also quite a few entries by people who have never made a video before, and this was kind of their first dip into this, because it's, as you said, it could be very small and contained, and you don't have to do anything too complex in terms of editing. So it was very fun to see. And a few people made one video and went on to make more, either for this project or for other projects unrelated. So that was very rewarding, I think. And people have also said that it's the whole process, both making their own videos and this kind of spirit of collaboration, was very therapeutic in a time where it was very much needed. People were sitting at home and not getting anything done, and just this kind of, I guess, a sort of escape, a sort of communal escape, which is fun, and which, now that I think about it, perhaps also replicates something of the experience of at least traditional television viewing, where you're doing it with other people at the same time, and you have a shared experience, kind of like a tribal experience, maybe, perhaps.
And you've started this great collaboration, as I mentioned, or as we both mentioned, with the Critical Studies in Television blog. And that's going to be a series of blog posts of folks who have contributed to the TV dictionary, kind of writing about their work, and also the experience of creating the project in general. And you kicked things off with an introductory post, and then there was a fantastic follow-up post by Dan O'Brien, who was one of these folks who had never before made videographic criticism. And so could you just talk about that partnership with the blog and why you feel it's a good fit for this project, and then maybe tease what folks can expect who go and read those blog posts?
What I like about this particular collaboration with the critical screen studies, is that critical studies in television, is that they have a circulation of people who are TV studies scholars, and most of them, I imagine, aren't into videographic criticism, or perhaps aren't even familiar with it. So this might be, a lot of the videographic people know about this project. I've either participated in it, or they've come across it somewhere, or in the Sight and Sound Ball. But a lot of TV studies scholars, hopefully, will be familiar with it now. And maybe we can bring more TV studies people into the videographic community, hopefully. I don't know if the blogs are going to have that effect, but if they do, that would be great. There have been 2 posts out so far, probably 3 by the time this goes up, because there's another one tomorrow, which is Friday. So I kicked things off with kind of an introductory, introducing the concept, the premise of the collection, and kind of giving a few examples of my own work. And Dan, as you said, gives the newbie perspective, someone who's just figuring out how to do this, which I think is very informative, again, especially for people who have little to no experience in editing or in videographic criticism. So definitely recommend that. He also presents a few of his own videos. And the third post is by Tomer Nechushtan from my own institution in Israel. She made the American Bandstand video. And her post is a little different, because she kind of shares more of her perspective as a scholar working with this material, not only videographically. So she kind of connects it to more theoretical contexts, which I think is great. And I love her video. You should definitely check out that. There will hopefully be a few more over the next few weeks, and then there's a summer break. We might continue in September with some more posts. We'll see. We're still waiting on yours as well.
You will definitely be getting mine. I'm excited to contribute, because I'm interested in kind of the communal aspect of this, and also the catharsis of video essay making. I think this blog posts are so fascinating, because I think, and you and I have talked a lot about this before, I always take so much away from written. This is part of many reasons why I love In Transition, whereas I always take away so much from written statements that come to accompany videographic criticism, and that kind of lift the veil, so to speak, and to hear kind of that inner monologue and the various ways that people come to videographic criticism. And I'm really excited to read that new blog post, because for me, one of the things that, and we've talked about this before, is that I think that even if you're not wanting to be a quote unquote video essayist, whatever that is that to be a well-rounded scholar, critic, fan, consumer, I think you're missing out, I think, a little bit by not at least trying to play around videographically with whatever it is that your subject matter is, because it will teach you so much from it.
As for the format of the videos, you have very simple ones that are just a scene, an unedited scene on which the text is overlaid, the dictionary definitions. And then you have more ambitiously edited montages and some experimental pieces that kind of make deformations and more kind of deconstructions of the clips. And you also have, and this is interesting, a couple of instances where there are two different entries on the same show. So
at least two on The Wire, right?
There's two on The Wire. There are two on the Bridge, Braun, and there are two on Breaking Bad. And there might be more in the future. So theoretically, we could also have two entries using the same word with different series. That hasn't happened yet. But these are all very interesting comparisons. We might also have a blog post about the two co-written by two people who made entries on the same series. So kind of discussing each other's work. So kind of give an idea of what you can find there.
Very exciting. And so just to close, are you still accepting submissions? And if someone wants to get involved with the TV Dictionary, how would they go about doing that?
Of course, we're always accepting new entries. The bulk of what's there was made during last summer, kind of last July, but we've been getting more every few weeks. Another entry pops up, and I'm always happy to get new contributions. You can email me. You can put my email under the video, and you can also it's also you have all the details, the prompt, and my email in the Vimeo collection, where you're happy to browse around, look for something about a show you like, and just watch. They're really small, kind of very condensed short videos, and they're fun to watch and even more fun to make. It's
such an fantastic resource, and thank you for coming on, and thank you for doing this project and for all you do in the community as an essential curator of between this and Once Upon a Screen and the Sight and Sound poll every year. It's so thank you so much for all the work that you do. It's tremendously appreciated.
Right back at you.